Hello, everyone. It's another. It's been a. Oh God, it's
Yeah,
it's been
whatever.
it's been rough and it's been smooth. Hold on, now. Wait a minute. Now, I I I feel your pain because I know that that's coming from the bracket. But this weekend didn't exactly go well for me. Specifically Friday. Friday absolutely sucked for me. And then there was that part where it was like my heart was happy. I told you over the weekend, my heart was happy, but my bracket hurt. And
That was
and 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 we will get to all those that did that to me and eventually, but let's start off with what we started cooking on uh before the show started. Um so I was looking over things and I saw this article over the weekend, and it was talking about uh another physical falling through. Now the Browns have backed out of the
AJ
Browns have
Epinesa.
backed out of the
AJ Epinesa.
yeah, AJ Ebenesa trade due to his
No,
concern.
it wasn't a trade. That was a free agent signing, which is crazy because it was only for 1 year. It was a 1 year deal.
Yeah, that's right, because it said he will become a free agent. And it's but that's the thing. It's like I think okay, so seeing that there wasn't much money on that, what that tells me is that they don't want to. I think all that heat and all the talk, especially from people, especially you, because you got especially spicy on it,
Hmm.
especially after the head coach got fired. But
Hmm.
not only did the GM not get fired, he got an extra job, and
Right. He
so
got a
you kind
raise
of
and
went
sat
in
on the
on that,
back of an attaboy. I'm like,
and
what the heck?
and right and you weren't the only one to go in on the fact that the head coach got fired, but somehow the GM didn't. So I feel like he's feeling the pressure to make sure that whatever comes in the door this year has to be leading them toward a championship, or else.
But that was for the Bills. That wasn't for the Browns. The Bills was the ones. The Bills when they fired McDermott and they kept Bean was the one where I was like, what the heck? With the Browns, that everybody knows they were even talking about it this morning on Get Up. The Browns have been in a 30-year rebuild.
Yeah, them and quite a few, and them and the Jets and
Yeah, but the
and and
Browns, but the reason why the
and the
Browns,
Raiders.
yeah, the reason why well, at least the Raiders in the past 30 years at least had some success and almost went to a Super Bowl. But when it comes down to it, when it comes to the Browns, with that, you you being picky about this, and that's fine. But everything helps. Even if he's not going to be out there, your defense is not your problem, and that's probably the reason why it was the issue. It's your offense, and and when it comes to these physicals was killing people and was killing these teams is that these players that are used to being probably fly by night just going ahead and be like, all right, I'm about to go in here, I'm about to take this physical, they're about to pass me, I'm about to get this money, and then I'm gonna keep on rehabbing, and then I'm gonna be in there for it. And now instead of them saying, hey, you know what, you good, we know what you can do, you can just go ahead and go on through. They're like, nah, son, nope, mm-mm, that don't look right. But it looked
And
right for me to be able to play on it, but it don't look like to us to make that investment on you after the fact. What you did
and
in the past is on you.
and it it's gonna turn this whole thing, whether it's college or whether it's pros, it's gonna turn into a literal day job, and people gonna be hating life.
Yeah.
And
But this is what happens when you start clamoring the money that you are getting and the
and then
revenue sharing
and
of that money and
and then
therefore.
and then it's also what happens when the people that's paying the money start going, wait a minute, where's my money going? I
And what
got
is
my customers are complaining, and I got to be honest, I don't quite like what I'm seeing either. Why am I paying all these people and I'm not getting nothing close to results? what are we doing? Is plus I'm sure he's also trying to save face because he's been backpedaling ever since Shador got drafted. So it's there's a lot to sift through, a lot of unnecessary ingredients and a whole lot of just throwing it together and going, look at this dish, and everybody looking at it like, yeah, it looks like a hot mess and I don't want to eat it. I'm tired of paying for it, you know.
But
Um
the other part about that though is something that came to me when I was driving in today was because I don't know if you've seen it. And this is another thing. Um, the Allen family, they got approval of their sale of the Portland Trailblazers to an investment group, and that's the same people that own the Seattle Seahawks, your defending Super Bowl champs, who's getting ready to sell because Mr. Allen sadly passed away, and the family been trying to hold on to it, but that's not what they are about. You're going to where more investment groups are buying these teams as a part of their portfolio. And one thing, so let's educate the fans here for this. It's a difference between being a family run ship to where y'all are the be all end alls because it's been in your family and you inherited it and you ran it like that. The Hunts, the Browns here in Cincinnati, the McClaskeys in Chicago, those type of teams where it's always been in the family. Now you're having investment groups come in and buy it, and you have to turn a profit or be something that is printing money in order for you to be sustainable. They're not going to look at it where an owner like Mike Brown might sit there and be able to like, oh yeah, he felt this physical, but I know he might be good for it. Let's go ahead and go sign him. That group and that board of directors is going to sit there and say, if we sign this person and they don't meet these expectations, because this injury has been known to show that it slows down. If it's a knee injury, it's known that players with this injury has been 25 to 45% less productive after they've had this injury over the first 2 years after it's been fixed and everything else as they ramp back up. Oh, but we trying to sign for a 1 year deal. It fits in that realm. We're not going to get the return on investment. We'll bypass it. That's what they're looking at it as now. You're not going to see all the emotional buys that you used to see from teams. You're not going to see that no more. You're going to see, what am I going to get that's going to be the best bang for my buck? You muted.
and you want to know the sad part about this that could actually become a thing? You let me know if you agree or disagree. The UFL, the CFL, and the XFL gonna start looking real attractive for
Mm-hmm.
people that want to play, but that the more that this starts happening, those little arena football is like, oh, you scoffed at it. I need some
If
money.
you try to right, if you
I
need
got
some money, you're gonna have to play.
and you gonna have to play, especially if they willing to sign you, knowing that you hurt, and willing to let you, like old school, like you said, like, okay, we know what you're capable of. Come on in. We'll just let things take care of itself. Eh,
Or we're gonna let you, or you're gonna work your way back up to where, and that's where I like the offset with the UFL and the NFL is that if you work your way back up, a smart thing for a free agent that hasn't been signed right now would be go down to the UFL, play. Yeah, you putting yourself at risk, but you playing and you getting tape for you to be, especially if you don't have a lot of tape. If you're one of these rookie free agents or anything else, get that tape out there, show out. Because if you can show out, or if you are being hurt and you trying to show that you didn't recover for it, and you can show out, these teams are gonna pick you up before training camp and say, all right, let's give it a shot. And that's where, and then injuries happen through training camp. You got film, you got tape. You might not be signed. You might be able to slot right into somebody and become productive, and who knows what might happen. It's not it's you have people have to you're gonna start seeing, and I agree with you, you're gonna start seeing people taking a lot advantage of a lot of situations that they didn't in the past because they might that's your only foot in the door. That you might be holding out hope, and you could be sitting up there putting out YouTube videos and reels and Instagram reels of you working out, getting everything back in order. But if it ain't productive or it ain't shown that it's been productive on the field, ain't nobody about to take that chance with that money. And that's where the rub is.
So it's about to get real interesting. If I was a lot of these players or these kids that want to be athletes, I don't know if I would continue to only look at football or basketball as my way in. Might wanna reopen that see if you could reopen that door to baseball and maybe soccer.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but yeah, it just seemed, is it just me or do it seem like a lot more people is like they deals was falling through because of physicals?
Yeah.
And they seem to be ramping up more and more and more as the years go forward. And it's like, hey,
Because
money
they're not
talk, and people want to make, they want something back on that investment. Whether it be in a regular relationship, whether it be in a friendship, you go to a job. And I know for a fact that's how I am. It's like I don't want to be in here, killing myself, and the business is thriving, but I'm I'm
I'm
not
not
growing.
I'm not showing anything for it. I'm not showing any value being added to me
Yeah, that's
because of
that's
the value I'm
always
adding to the company.
yeah. Yeah, that's always been my issue. Like I want to grow. I don't just want to come in here and just be like just a seed in the ground, not really doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I'm helping the soil around me, but the soil ain't doing, I'm not getting a return so that I can blossom into a nice flower or whatever. But so honestly, I hope a lot of these teams and I hope a lot of these players wake up. Um, because the teams seem to be waking up, and that's not good for the players, and that's also not good for the fans because there's gonna be a lot of heartbroken fans, and they're gonna have them crutches that they're gonna lean back on,
Mm-hmm.
and they like oh man, they're using their power. Well, what would you do?
What would
I always give people this excellent example, especially when they come talking about the teams and the owners and how they run the teams. I'll say, would you let somebody come in your house and run your house? Like, even if they had a point, would you let somebody come in and run your house? And they stop and they think and they go, no. I'm like, and that's basically what we're doing with these owners. It's like technically the owner can do whatever they want. That it's theirs. We're telling them what to do with something that belongs to them. And even though it's a different situation, it's technically the same because you both something is yours and somebody's trying to tell you what to do with it. That's the similarity. The details are different, yes, but the similarity is there's something of yours and somebody's going, this is what you should do with that. I don't know why you not doing this, that, and the other. Even if you have a point taken, but please let's not forget this is mine.
yeah.
And people start doing things like when the stuff with Job Barrett started happening. I know you saw it. Oh man, they hating on that young man. Let that young man grow. Let him do what he want. They did the same thing with
No.
they did the same thing with Dante. Well, so what? He being disrespectful to the front office and to the coaches that are technically his bosses. They winning. Just shut up. What? Like
That's not what
that.
that's about. It's when it comes down to it, the way that they've been trying to sit there and depict this, they're not. I'm trying to collect it from what I was from that whole thing because it's just John's situation. John's situation was one to where he had, and it's funny because I just started watching that show Paradise on Hulu.
I'm sorry, I started laughing, but I was watching something and uh yeah, I was watching ESPN last week and one of the actors was on there
Yeah,
and and he was talking about how it's a lot of men that are walking up to him and he's like surprised because he's like there's so many men walking up to me talking about they watch Paradise and and he was kind of thrown off by it.
I don't see why. I'm seriously. I watched it for the first time for like an episode on Saturday.
Hmm.
I'm mad that I missed it. And the reason why it ties into the story with Jai is that one of the biggest things that's at the end of season 2 is that they talk about everything seems like it's perfect. And but the president on there is talking to the people that were running and had developed the whole place that's the subject of Paradise.
Hmm.
And he was sitting there telling them, like, but what about the contingency plan? What about this? What can happen with this part of it? There's like, oh, it's like a 1 in quintillion chance that this could happen when everything happens perfectly at the same, like everything happens perfectly that could cause an outside invasion, the loss of oxygen in the place where they at, and trying to go on lockdown all at the same time. So when it came to Ja, his situation that all hit him at the same time was he could sign an extension because of what he had did in the first 2 years, and he signed a worthy extension, so that made him the face of the Grizzlies. Then he started wanting to be a hard guy and wanted to be showing guns. So you got the money, which is already putting a small market team behind the 8 ball. You start acting a fool, and then on top of that, you got hurt.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect storm.
Eventually he went quiet, but just after the stuff, from what I noticed of it at that time, after the second time he got in trouble, I think he might have did one more thing.
He tried to.
And huh?
He tried to do one more thing.
Yeah, and that was like I think that's when the bottom finally dropped out on it, where even a lot of his supporters was like, "Bro,
We
what
can't
is
support you on this.
like, bro, we was trying. It's like, okay, this is too much. We can't. I'm having I'm having uncomfortable these conversations have now become uncomfortable because I
Right.
keep trying to stick up for you, and it's like you kind of feel the aura of my support, and that's instead of using it as a shield to protect yourself and like head down the right path, you keep going. Ooh, I got a shield. I could keep. I could. What path do I choose now? And it's like, no, it's not what path you choose now. There's a straight and narrow path, and you need to stay there. And while you there, you need to still be the talented part of you that you always were, which I'm trying to figure this out. And for those who don't know, basically what this stems from, unfortunately, the clip was too long for us to play on the show. It was like 30 minutes. It was basically Nightcap with Shannon Sharp and uh Joe Johnson and Chad, and they were talking about Ja Morant
Hmm.
and where his career has gone up to this point. And this is that moment, and I'm not even going to take it as a proud moment because I don't want people to think that I'm happy that his career went the way I thought it was going to go. I'm not. I don't care
Right.
who it is. If I've ever said that I didn't think that you was going to win a championship, get a sniff of a championship, I wasn't saying it. And
You
even if
wasn't
I
saying
was
that was
if
slight.
if I was talking about, ooh, I was right, woo 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 woo, I was saying I was right for the people that said I was wrong, and I didn't know what I was talking about, and I don't know basketball.
Right.
With the talent that they have on my basketball game, everybody that I said that wasn't gonna make it to a championship, that hasn't made it to a championship to this point, you've had like more than one championship on any of my basketball games.
Yeah.
You got more rings than LeBron. LeBron's undefeated in terms of championships. And and it's like it's not. So I'm saying that to say this: it's not hate.
No, it's never hate. It's just it's the reality of what's going on here with it and knowing what you are a part of. And that's what a lot of
It
these players don't realize. The hardest thing for a lot of these players to realize is that this is not promised. It's never been promised to you. This you got a privilege to play in this league. Don't take don't take it to where it feels like you're abusing that privilege to play in that league.
and that's the thing. It's when you start being surrounded by yes people,
Mm-hmm.
and the sad part is and this is not a complete defense to the yes people, but it is sort of a defense to the rest to the yes people, and it just came to my mind. They're trying to keep your confidence up.
Right.
It's they part of them means well. A lot of people do stuff meaning well and don't pay attention to what they might be, the monster that they might be creating.
Right.
And then when the monster comes out and then it's too late to stop it, you try to
They're like,
stop
oh
it and slow
snap.
it down. It's like, nah, you done let it go too long.
Mm-hmm. And
And and
you
and
can't
that's
put
in
that genie back
anything.
into you can't put that genie back into the bottle once you get to that point.
No, because they get the head and the ego, the human ego gets so big that even the people that mentored them and created it, the doctor that created Frankenstein. Yeah, you created Frankenstein, but unfortunately, you made him too strong, and now
Right.
even you can't stop him.
You
That's
can
that's a great way of putting it.
well,
And 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 anybody, if you say I'm wrong, then you're just choosing not to agree with it just because you don't want to agree with it. And everybody has that right. And that's not me just trying to play both sides of the fence or trying to be weak. No, you as a person have a right to think whatever you want to think, even if there's a hint of wrong to it or it's completely wrong. Everybody always has a right to believe and think how they want to think. If you think Trump is the best thing since sliced bread, okay, that's your
that's you.
opinion.
Right.
Oh, okay. If people thought Obama was the best thing since sliced bread, okay, that's your opinion. I'm sure Obama is glad that you love him. I'm sure Trump is glad that you love him. I'm sure Bill Clinton and both the Bushes, I'm sure they're glad that you love them. But are you getting the job done the way it's supposed to be done?
Right.
That's the question. I would have loved to have seen every big three since they started paying attention to them with Boston. I would have loved to have seen every big three win a championship. That meant OKC would have won one.
Yeah.
Washington would have won one. Eventually the Brooklyn Nets would have won one.
They wouldn't have won with
The Knicks had quite a few.
man.
The Knicks had quite a few big threes, even before a big three was a thing. They had pieces.
No, yeah. But it's like you can't even with some of those concepts with that, you can't even really go with those big threes that was in their form. Some of them overlap with each other, so it would have been balanced.
Yeah,
But at least you would have seen the shot for it.
which is good for the league. I
Right.
mean, so if you think about as many times as LeBron went to the championship, if a different team went each time, they had a chance to get in there.
Mm-hmm.
So because he went 10 times, okay, he go 1 year, and then you could have fit all them other ones in there
If they would have been able to step up to the plate.
for one time and still had him circle around, and he still would have had space to win more than one. So or one of the other ones that won it could have jumped in there and won more than one, and that was the the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, but back to Josh, I hope Memphis figures it out because since they basically became a team, I have to be perfectly honest. There was times that even though the Spurs was my team, Memphis had talent enough where I wouldn't have minded seeing them make a run.
Oh yeah, I would. I agree. It was times where I realistically, the year that my Warriors won their last championship, I was scared for them to play against John M. And then John M showed that they weren't ready. They were they were too young. They weren't ready for it. But at the same time, but when they went into that series, I was scared. So I get it. It's just that he's going to be a case study of where we always had what ifs for players because they never made it to the NBA. And then we had another level of what ifs from college superstars that never panned out in the NBA.
Yeah,
Or or we had they started off hot, then they got injured and they never was the same. We always had those. He's going to be a special case study on his own because you got to look at everything as a whole in its totality to figure out what really happened. Was it the injuries? Was it the fact of he couldn't ride around with his blicky no more? We don't know, but it's a part. It's gonna be going to be a part of the story. And
and when somebody decide that they know who they want to be and they're not allowed to be that, that can be an ego killer.
mm-hmm.
You've seen it in the history of sports where the obviously the most obvious one that is a mystery also. And if I could ever meet him, or if I could get lucky enough to get this big enough to where he would be willing to come on the show, I would love to ask Chad. Like, Chad, I saw the interview with Stephen A. and you kind of talked about it. I'm sorry. We need to dig deeper because even though the level of talent you had in Cincinnati, and you
Yeah,
look like you should have never been drafted when you got to the Patriots. What? No, I can't. I know you had a hard time explaining it,
it
but
because it was we. I think Chad will always be that case to where the reason why Chad's out of the league wasn't, I don't, to me, realistically, I don't think it was his fault. I think it was the distraction of Evelyn Loaiza in that whole situation during that time frame that caused it.
I would have loved to agree with you, but Hard Knocks will say otherwise.
Why? I don't remember that Hard Knocks.
You don't remember
No, I don't remember that
that's
Hard
what got
Knocks.
him up out of the league.
Was because what was he doing?
Okay. All right. The one that finally pissed Adam Gacy off. Um, he was being himself. He was being silly. I can't remember what he was doing, but it wasn't a good look. But the one that ultimately got him kicked off the team was he strolled into a team meeting and wouldn't leave. Something like that. And Adam and he was acting all crazy and stuff. And Adam just looked at him and was like, uh yeah, yeah, we're not doing this. And he was
But see,
gone.
but see, and for that, if that was the reason why he was out, then that means that they didn't do their due diligence when he was with the Bengals. The know how he was when he was here. And they basically made it to where it was the Patriot way. We know what you did in the past. You have to fall in line with what we do here, or you're gonna be gone.
Right.
Because he did all that stuff. There was too many stories about him. You can't go and basically flip the rules on somebody that was a football junkie. The man lived in Paul Brown Stadium. And now all of a sudden you want him to leave, and was he being distracted in the meeting?
Yeah. They kept asking him to leave and he wouldn't leave.
But was it wasn't his position?
No, he wasn't supposed to be in there.
Oh, well, see, so then
He did. I wish I could remember everything he did
I'll look it up in order to see what it was.
it was stuff on Hard Knocks and the last thing he did that was just the final straw. I believe Adam Gacy was the coach. He came into a meeting and they was like, hey, yeah, you mind, leaving out? And he came in, he was being Chad,
Right.
and he was just ignoring what they was telling him. They're like, dude, come on, man. Yeah, that's funny and everything. You come on, you got to go. And he wouldn't leave. So I'm gonna try to see if I can look it up so I can actually watch it. But that's basically what ended his tenure in Miami. That and that little situation with the female. I think you mentioned her
That's
name.
Evelyn Loaiza.
Yeah. That the situation there, and then it was just like because that happened while he was in Miami too.
Right.
And
But it spilled over into New England because was Miami after New England or before it?
Miami was after.
Okay, so he was dealing with her. He was dealing with her in the engagement and being on the reality television show and everything else toward the tail end with New England and when he went to Miami.
Which is so between that and the lack of catches, I could see Bill being like, "Yeah, this ain't it."
Right, and I could get that, it, and it and I understand it. Don't get me wrong. I get to where you're trying to get. How can I put this? I get where the whole dynamic for Chad made it to where everybody's asking that question about what happened from the Bengals to when you left the Bengals, because it's pretty much night and day.
He took
But
ownership of that whole thing with he understood after the fact why Marvin did what he did.
yeah, yeah. And Marvin didn't want to because he was Mr. Reliable, him and Hoots. But he wasn't the same after Hoots left.
Yeah, he got worse. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Facts.
Hoots was his balance. He was his yin to his yang. Hoots did what he had to do and got his numbers and was the Robin to his Batman.
Yeah, but the reason why the reason why Hush got his numbers was because Chad was always running his mouth and made himself public enemy number one. So
Exactly. So it worked. It worked.
yeah, but that wasn't what Chad wanted because remember that was also the same Chad that was complaining to Palmer that he wouldn't throw to him. But what Chad wasn't understanding was they weren't always on one, they weren't always on the same page when he would try to throw to him. Two, he threw a lot of Palmer's interceptions that everybody get mad at him about. Like, matter of fact, if you go back even now and look through the games, especially when him and T.O. was there, and I
Mhm.
actually looked this up the year that it was happening because I tried to tell people this and they didn't want to believe me. And I went and I looked just to make sure. If you look and see where his interceptions came from, he was either throwing to Chad or he was throwing to T.O.
Which is typical.
Because and that's what I was trying to tell people. Like, man, he already had a headache enough with uh with Chad because Chad was upset because he wasn't getting the ball. You're not getting the ball because you keep running your mouth and you keep putting yourself in the danger zone. You don't have a Peyton Manning or a Brett Favre that can get the ball in the small windows and we marvel at how they were able to do it. You got Carson Palmer. So if you want the ball, unfortunately, you got to ease back on your ego. So everybody ain't targeting you so that he can find you in space enough that he can get the ball in there. So yeah, you're right. It worked. Chad didn't like that it was working, but technically it was working. It worked out for
So
Hush Mazada. It worked out for everybody whose name was not Chad. And so yeah. But yeah, back to Jai. Um I honestly wish him the best of luck. And I hope I honestly, I truly to God hope that he figures it out before too much longer. Because eventually it's gonna be over. And he is gonna have to go over to like overseas or something and just so
G
he can
League
keep
it.
playing. Huh?
G League it.
Come on, man. Now you know he more talented than the G League.
Hey, but I'm
I mean, I get what you're saying, but
you're
I
gonna
mean,
have to do at this point, you're gonna have to do something to show people that you're capable of being that superstar that you thought you was. And if you can't do it, then you're done. It's
yeah.
it's it's not the hardest thing. I mean, I think for me, for Ja needs a complete change of scenery. Now,
And that's what Shannon was saying.
here's the thing. He needs to change the scenery to some place that won't be as tempting to those vices.
Here now, and this is where the problem comes in because and this is a question I have for you because Joe Johnson had a had a suggestion that to me didn't make a whole lot of sense,
What do you say?
but he considers it the New England of the New England of the NBA. But
The
again,
Warriors?
when he mentioned the team, it didn't make any sense to me.
The
But
Warriors?
no.
The the huh? The New England of the NBA.
Hmm.
Who would be the New England of the NBA?
Who is running a team? Not necessarily the coach. Don't think
The
coach.
Lakers?
Who's running a team that is not the coach? That it is believed that a lot of players don't want to go there because of how it's being run.
The Clippers?
They have the person that's running it was once successful.
The Hornets? No,
Nope,
no, or Celtics?
Miami.
Oh hell no!
Right. And that's what Ocho said. Ocho said no. But then Joe explained that he was like, "Well, I hate to break this to you, but when I was there, the veterans around me, I was never in the club. And I'm
But
like,
that was the veterans around you then.
right.
Look at Miami right now. Who's their veterans? Bam Adebayo,
Uh-huh.
Tyler Hero. Who else?
Is UD still like
No, he
is he
retired.
well, I know he retired, but is he still hanging around?
I don't know. Last time I saw UD was on NBA Today doing spot duty, but I don't know if he's still employed with ESPN.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. I don't. You would have to bank on the old heads keeping you lock in step and separating you from your daddy. I hate to be like that, but that's the truth. Because if you think John's daddy is bad in Memphis, you put that man on South Beach, we got problems.
Ooh. That's why as soon as he said it, my brain went, I'm sorry, what?
No, he
I
can't.
mean, I get it. I get Pat Riley.
Right.
I get that part.
And see, the only thing that makes that to where I would think that it would work would be because Pat Riley. Because Pat Riley be up there like, he'll call the club. Is he in there? I'm about to have my limo pick him up. Nope, nope, don't care if he drove. Throw him in the limo and bring him to me. And he'll be sitting there in the Scarface mansion, sitting up there watching him walk up the steps, sitting up there like, you wasn't supposed to be there. What are you doing? You know what the rules is. Go sit in the corner. Because
Yeah,
that's the only way that would work.
and let's remember, even the king left over cookies on the plane.
The king left because he wasn't a man. Let's be real. And before we move on to something, let's be real with this. LeBron James left from Miami to go back to Cleveland. One, because he did his 4-year bid, and two, because no matter what he did in that situation, he would never be bigger than Dwayne Wade in Miami.
But Dwayne Wade told the story. It was one of the things that happened like toward the end of his tenure. He had always had like I'm pretty positive he said cookies. And all of a sudden, cookies wasn't on the plane no more. And when LeBron asked about him, he was like, "Yeah, Pat said no more." And he said the look that LeBron got on his face, he was like, "I knew he was gone." And I'm
Over
like,
cookies.
"All right." And trust me, the laughter, I was laughing. I was like, "That's what we doing? That's
Yep.
that's that's what y'all
You
signed
took my
on
you
for."
took my oatmeal raisin cookies. I
And
don't
and
want to hear
and
no
and
more.
I'm not trying to dump on LeBron because
I am.
I guarantee you that I've heard some crazier stories. Let's remember how close was Duncan to being in Orlando with Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter, but he but Doc wouldn't let his family fly back on the plane,
But
and he
the
ended up in
crazy
San
part about that.
Antonio. I mean, and,
But
and,
here's my question. Here's my big thing when it comes to that.
what's up?
If we're gonna talk about little stuff like that, to where you are rich, get over it. It's gonna prevent you
In that
from.
particular case, he was trying to find a spot to get rich, but yeah, it. But I'm talking about Duncan. Um,
But Duncan was gonna leave. Didn't Duncan win most of his championships after that free agency?
what do you mean? No. That wasn't free agency. That was like he was trying to figure out where he was getting drafted to.
Oh, oh yeah, when he was coming out of Wake Forest, yeah.
Yeah, and that hurt Vince a lot. They was on a basketball show on ESPN, and Tracy brought that up, and whoever the female was, she looked at Vince. She was like, "You never knew that?" He was like, "No, I never knew that we could have had Tim Duncan." I was like, because Tracy, I think Tracy thought he knew too, and he kind of felt bad. He was like, "Oh, well,
And
like
see, that's
wow,
where
how would that have went for how would would he have as many championships as he has had he gone to Orlando?
nah.
That's another question. I mean, we know talent wise that he could do it. We also knew that Vince and Tracy could do it, but it never worked out for them.
True.
And it's like, but yeah. So with that,
What the hell?
let's see. What was another one I wanted to? We talked about Ja.
Ooh, this one is breaking, so I'm gonna slot this one in while you're looking at it.
Go
Remember
ahead.
how I said that Cuban, there was rumblings about Cuban in Dallas?
Uh-huh.
This came out about 2 hours ago. Mark Cuban says he regrets selling Mavericks to Miriam Adelson, Patrick Dumont. In the 2+ years since Mark Cuban sold his majority stake in the Dallas Mavericks, the team has made the NBA Finals, traded superstar Luka Doncic, and lucked into drafting Cooper Flagg with the top pick in last year's draft. Had Cuban known how things would have played out, he says he still would have sold the Mavericks, just not to Miriam Adelson and her son-in-law, Las Vegas Sands CEO Patrick Dumont. I don't regret selling, Cuban said in his appearance on the Intersections podcast. I regret who I sold to. I made a lot of mistakes in the process, and I'll leave it at that. He sold them for a $3.5 billion valuation in 2023. And he said he believed he would still have significant input in basketball decisions. Nothing really changed except my bank account. Cuban still owns 27%, a 27% stake in the franchise when the Mavericks traded Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers in February 2025.
Oh, so he should have been aware of that.
Right. It became clear general manager Nico Harrison was shaping Dallas's roster and that Cuban's influence had waned. The Doncic for Anthony Davis swap sparked intense fan backlash. Harrison was fired in November 2025 amid a 3-8 start to this season. A few months later in February, the Mavericks traded Davis to the Washington Wizards while Davis was out with a left hand injury, the fourth injury he'd suffered in his year-long stint in Dallas. Cuban still attends a majority of the home games, even though his team has a 12-28 record since the start of the 2026 season and has been outside the postseason picture most of the season. He typically sits on the baseline near the Mavericks bench. Once the Mavericks season concludes in April, Dumont, the Mavericks governor, has several big decisions to make. They need to hire a personal lead basketball decision maker to build out the roster around Flagg. Michael Finley and Matt Riccardi has served as co-interim general managers since Harrison's firing. They have said they want someone in place ahead of the June draft, and they will likely control a top 10 pick on the Oklahoma City Thunder. I said Oklahoma City Magic. Oklahoma City Thunder's first rounder, likely selection 29 or 30, because of moves the Mavericks made to strengthen their roster around Doncic. That they don't have control of their first round pick after this year until 2031. Then they said by July they have to decide on a site to build a new arena. The team plans to vacate the American Airlines Center once the lease expires in 2031. Wow. He said that he told the Intersections host Tom Leopard and Kyle Waldrop that the emotional commitment of being a majority owner was one of the reasons he sold. You hear the passion and everything, Cuban said. Now imagine going up and down like that every single game. That's hard. Cuban added that he didn't want his children to become involved with the Mavericks. My kids, they were coming of age where they would have the mindset that they would want to work at the Mavs. Cuban said, I didn't want them to. If fans don't like what you're doing and the team's not doing well, you're the worst human being on the planet. That is seller's remorse. That's seller's remorse. Completely. You don't, everybody, and that's what you're going to start seeing a lot more too. These investment companies are coming in there where it's groups. You don't know everybody that's tied into the group. All you know is the valuation from the trust that's buying into, or the S corp that's buying into the company, or buying the shares of it. If it goes left, you're gonna sit up there. I don't think that's why when we had the conversation about the Dante trade, he 27% stake in the ownership, and you didn't know what was going down. You didn't sit up there and say, whoa, 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 what are we doing? To make them think about it. And think about it from that standpoint. Within a calendar year, everybody that they traded for Doncic is gone, including the GM that pulled the trigger. So you got left with what? You got Cooper Flag out of it. Congratulations. Now you got to rebuild around him with no first round draft pick for the next 5 years. That's not good business. That's not good business at all. And it sucks because Cuban was one of the good things about the NBA because of that passion and everything that he had for the team and everything for it. And I get it where you will sit there and say that you would hate going up and down with the team all the time. You would hate having that feeling of going up and down all the time with them. So if that's the case, then nah. I get it. It sucks. It's part of the game.
Yeah. Um. Uh. Well, I mean that whole trade, I'm on the fence. I I believe he should have done it, but I don't because of how Doncic was acting. I believe he should have done it. I just don't believe that he should have gone for Anthony Davis.
I
Now,
just yeah.
had he gone for somebody else that was good and not injury prone and got some pieces, because they still got good players there, but the other part of it is Irving can't stay healthy either.
Yeah, but I think Kyrie, more than anything, Kyrie would be more. Kyrie to me would be more along the lines of his injuries was more of him pushing too hard than it was him just being injury prone. And that's why it's like I can't get mad at him for it, but I can't get mad at him about it. I mean, I feel what you're saying when it comes to that. It's just realistically, I don't count Kyrie because Kyrie and Luka was cooking, and then that trade happened, and then Kyrie had to pick up the slack, and he was already coming off of an injury, and then he got hurt, and then you traded him for somebody that you knew wasn't going to be reliable because he wasn't reliable while he was with the Lakers. So it's like, what are we doing? That whole meme. What are we doing? What are we doing? That's exactly how it was, and it sucks because it should have been to where they had a better opportunity than what they could have, and even after it was done, I I was I was on the fence when it happened. Then I was like, okay, if AD can get back to even 70% of what he was when he was with the Lakers with a bona fide point guard and Kyrie Irving and what they had, because they showed the glimpses of it when they ran to the finals. If everybody would have been hurt, would have been healed, they could have had a shot. But Davis couldn't even show the 70%, and then Irving got hurt. So it's like it's a wrap. And that's why part of me was like, okay, you re-sign Davis, you let everybody heal. You done added Cooper Flag, let it chill this year, and then run it back next year, and
Yeah,
then
but
decide. But 11 games in, they was like, nah, son, this ain't working. We gotta get rid of him, and it threw off everything.
mm-hmm.
So I get it. It's just that for me,
And
it
they still got pieces in Dallas. That's the sad part because
right.
Gafford and Marshall and Lively, they are adequate pieces.
Oh yeah.
Like they were part of what helped get Dante over the hump from a defensive standpoint so that they could make it to the championship. So I mean they have pieces there, and at least one of the pieces that they got from the Lakers, I guess he wasn't consistent or whatever, but if you probably could have held on to him, seeing what you could work with, even if you just bring him off the bench, and that way that part of the trade is worth it because you need to have a bench. You get somebody that's not very consistent. Okay, you bring him off the bench. That's usually the people that come off the bench aren't that consistent anyway. There was ways that they could have kept things afloat even within that trade.
Oh yeah.
But and if anything, the first person they should have tried to get rid of instead of getting rid of the other pieces that they got from it should have been trying to get rid of AD. Because it's like when the injuries is showing the writing on the wall, like, oh, this is New Orleans AD. Nah, gotta go.
Right. And it's
He
like
he he
okay,
might have been able to keep he might, depending on what he brought in after that, he might have been able to keep his job had he cleaned it up and they wouldn't have came in the next year vacuum sucking. And so, so
well,
so 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 basically at the end of the day, it the fact that he decided to go with the decision anyway, even when the owner laughed at him. It's like you want to trade Doncic and he just laughs at him. So you hurry up and leave the office and you're like, I'm gonna do this trade anyway. Okay, you making that decision on your own, even though you knew that there was people against it, and deciding to do it by yourself, and just the way he went about it, he deserved to be fired for sure.
he deserved it. And that will again, this is another one to where it's going to be one of those big old question marks that we're going to have for the rest of our career, where we're going to sit up there and say, what was this? What were they thinking? Why did
But
they do this?
here's the other part. Pressure's still on Doncic. Because at the
Yeah,
end of the
but
day, his behavior was exhibiting the behavior. So if he okay, let's play this, have fun with this a little bit.
okay.
So is it still completely a bad trade if with the Lakers he never makes it back to another championship? Win or
Yes,
lose, he never makes it back.
yes. And I'm gonna tell you why. As long as he goes further than Dallas on a repeated basis, it's a bad trade. They in the same conference.
And I get that, but that
But
was
what?
mixed in with the trade. They felt like if he couldn't keep himself in enough shape and stay healthy enough, that they wasn't going to be able to make it back and they wasn't going to be able to win. So I can get the
I,
part where you're completely right that if they keep going past the Mavericks, it's an excellent trade. But if he never makes it back to another championship, Nico still deserved to be fired, but he wasn't wrong. And
but
neither
the
was Michael Finley.
but here's the reason why. And here's the reason why I'm going against that. You now have pretty much the American version of Luka Doncic on your team with Cooper Flag. He does everything that Luka was doing, and rebounded and played defense better. So if over, let's give it 10 years. So we give it in 2026. If in them 10 year span, you never got past the person that you said what couldn't play defense, was couldn't you felt like he couldn't keep himself in shape, and he's constantly in the MVP race, and he constantly keeps the Lakers in the upper third with the younger teams, and you can't get past them, you're going to sit there and wonder until you're blue in the face, what if? And that's going to be the legacy behind it. Because if you think about it, did anybody expect, including me, did anybody expect the Lakers to be the number 3 seed right now? No.
That's the other thing. That's what I forgot to talk about last week. We could pivot to that when you get done with your point.
Yeah, but nobody expected for the Lakers to be the number 3 seed. None of them. But the whole thing of it was that from the beginning, when they made that move, you have to buy into, are you building around your new superstar? And you have to make sure everybody else knows their role and shut their mouth. Shout out to The Rock. And that's what made it congeal into, he's been on this run of 40 straight 40-point games. Yeah, he ain't playing tonight because he still has attitude Luka, which is still, but for me, in all actuality, I love his attitude when he's out there playing with it. Because he will look at a fan that might be drawing at him the whole while, bust a 3 and something like, shut the fuck up, and tell him to go sit down. Because that's how we would be out on the court if somebody kept on jawing at us the entire while. So I get it. But the narrative that they painted around the reason why they traded him, Dallas's whole mentality, and I think that's part of the reason why Cuban's getting pissed. Cuban always tried to put them in a position to where they were competing for championships, or they was competing to get into playoffs by any way. He would do whatever he needed to in order to try to get them there. He had some instances where he dropped the ball.
Jason is hurting them too.
Oh yeah. Jason Kidd is not.
I don't understand how he still has a job. I got worried about Cooper Flag as soon as they said, well, we're gonna use him as a point guard. I'm like, I'm sorry, you're gonna use him as a what?
But that's what happens when you have a point guard as your coach.
But and I get that, but and even if I understand that, here's the problem. Last I checked, wasn't one of the pieces that they brought over from the Lakers a point guard?
D'Angelo Russell. No. It wasn't Pippen. Who was it? What was it? He got hurt. I thought he got hurt. Hold on.
Okay, because whoever he wasn't bad. He wasn't even bad when he was with the Lakers. But
no, the Lakers didn't want to give him up. Max Christie, Doug Christie's son.
He wasn't bad. I felt like if he had some time with a team where he was, that he could do some damage. But he had to be somewhere where they was gonna let him grow. And especially with people like Lively, Marshall, and Galliford there. Mm-hmm. So, and he was showing promise, but like you said, he got hurt, and then I guess they got rid of him. And it's like,
no, he's still on the squad.
Okay, so then why? And that makes me question it even more. It's like, why wouldn't you give him another person to pass to get some assists to? That's what and I've been wanting to say it. I have all the respect for Jason Kidd as a player, but as a coach, it ain't been it.
No, and Jason Kidd, this is what Jason Kidd falls.
Who's worse, him or Doc?
Doc. I hate to be like that, but I have to call a spade a spade. Doc Rivers is what Dusty Baker was for baseball for the longest period of time. You could give him the top talent in the world, and he will never get the championships to match up with the talent that he had on his team.
Well, the one thing I will say about him in Milwaukee, I won't defend him no other place, but the one defense I will give him in Milwaukee was he had the Aaron Gordon. He had his version of Aaron Gordon and Chris Middleton.
But Chris was on, but you went there. You took that choice.
Uh, and
That's the
and and
thing.
and and I get that, but it's like we'll never know what could have been because Chris Middleton was always hurt. He
But
never
Chris Middleton
lasted.
was on the back end. Chris Middleton was in the mid card to back end of his career. He
Right.
wasn't
But
young.
but but like Aaron Gordon, when he was in, team was humming. But that was the thing.
Right.
He was constantly out. And it's like,
Right. But you can't, but that showed the flaw. I didn't like it when they re-signed Middleton around the time when they won the championship. I didn't like it.
right. I was scratching my head. I'm like, dude, stay
But
hurt.
they
What are you
was banking
doing?
on him to be healthy. And I am a very big proponent of if you are in your 30s, in your early 30s, and you have had any type of major injuries in your 20s to your early 30s, by 32, 33 years old, I'm not looking to sign you to a long-term contract. If you've been healthy all the way through and not had no issues and been only missing games for rest and minor tweaks and stuff like that, yeah, sure, sign me up. But if you've blown out a knee, an Achilles, a hip, a arm, something like that, no, I'm not paying you that. No. Unless you didn't show me in the past that you can actually work your way back into it, I'm not going to be stupid with my money. And when they did it, it was like, okay, you re-signed Chris Middleton. You know you got to pay Giannis. What else can you build around him? Nothing. And then you did the Doc Rivers School of Broadcasting way of
Which,
coaching.
which I'm still trying to figure out. Team coming off a championship, they were having a winning season. What goes through the owner's head to pull somebody from the announcer's booth?
Nobody liked the coach.
And man, well, I mean,
That's
well,
what
we
it
see
was.
we see how that worked out for him, kind of like in New York. I'm just saying. And it's happened a lot of times through history. You remember the 76ers didn't like Larry Brown. How'd that work out for Detroit?
It never.
I mean,
You've
it
been
just
hearing it. You've been hearing that argument a lot over the past, and I'm loving the fact that the coaches are starting to speak up when it comes out about it now. That era of the NBA from 20 the and you know what? I'll call a spade. I don't care. The LeBron era of the NBA, where it became player empowerment, cost a lot of teams championships. Because every team that's won a championship was not player empowered. They had a coach that's still coaching the teams that won their championship, except for the little spot duty ones. Other than that, no. Because during that whole run, how many times did LeBron sit there and get coaches kicked out where he was at? The only one he didn't
and
get him kicked out was
and
Spoelstra.
now that was another. I believe that was another thing because I believe at one time LeBron did look up and go, yeah, yeah, we can replace him. And Pat Riley was like, no, we ain't.
No, he ain't. And
Like
that was
that's my guy. Like he ain't moving.
and that was the thing. And that was the part of it that made it to where you had to really sit there and think about it like, hold up. You cannot keep on making you cannot keep on making decisions because you want to do it. At the end of the day, I'm writing your check. Shut up and play.
And he
And I
caught
know
so much
and,
flack.
and
He
it's
caught
not
flack every time
it
he said it.
and it's not a it's not the same thing as the shut up and ball mentality that they was giving out to the players throughout, like when we was doing the rallies and everything else. It's I'm writing your checks. You can't tell me how to run my team, and I'm writing your checks. You want that power, you go on the team. Until then, you are an employee, not an employer. And that's why when you sit there and you think about, if you think about all the teams that he took, that he went to the championship with, realistically, after because Spoelstra lost the 2 and then won the 2 with them.
Right.
Cleveland, he went through how many coaches during that time frame when he was in the league? Both times, because I know he went through at least 3 when he was in Cleveland the last time. Cleveland, this one's for you. Coaching history. Here we go. Cleveland Cavaliers coaching history. Basketball reference. Now let's go to Wikipedia. Theirs is always up to date. All right. So when did LeBron hit the league? Was it 03?
I'm not sure.
I thought it was 03 because he in year 22, ain't he?
Year 23.
So 02?
Yeah.
Okay, so he got drafted in 02. His coaches, while he's been with the while he's been in the league, his coaches have been John Lucas II, Keith Smart, Paul Silas, Brendan Malone. He left and went to the Heat in 2010, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. And then Mike Brown. So you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coaches the first time he was there. And here's the crazy part. None of them had losing records. None of them. Then you left. You came back in 2014. You came back to David Blatt. You got Blatt out of there. You had Tyronn Lue. And then you had Larry Drew. Wait a minute. When did he leave and go to the Lakers? He's been to the Lakers for what, 6 years now?
Sounds about right.
Hold on. LeBron, God's career stats. And it popped up when I said it. God career stats. And it popped up with LeBron. Huh, go figure. He joined the Lakers in 2018.
Yeah, so he's been there 8 years.
Okay, so he went to the Heat in 2010. So 2018 was your last year. 2017 was your last year. So you was there when Tyronn Lue was there. So your longest tenured coach while you was there was Tyronn Lue and Mike Brown. But you done had 7 coaches and 2 different stints with Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah.
And that's not even including with the Lakers, you done went through 4? I think you've gone through 4.
Yeah, he went Luke Walton didn't last a year.
He went Walton,
Darvin Ham.
No, it was what's we call it?
Now remember because they won the championship with Darvin Ham and
No, he didn't. It wasn't him. It wasn't him. I don't think so. Hold on. Lakers head coaches. Here we go. All right. And that sucks because I am a Lakers fan. Shut up, people, if you're watching this. Luke Walton, Frank Vogel is who they won the championship with.
Okay.
So you went through Walton, Vogel, Ham, Reddick. So you've been with 4 coaches since then. So 2 teams, you've gone through 11 coaches. And you wonder why. No continuity. None. It's none. And how many of those coaches did you handpick to be the head coach? Nah, you can't run that. You can't run that game. It sucks. But the facts are the facts. You have done this for too long, and you caused too many issues. And that whole thing of being the quote unquote players league, you've made it to where these coaches don't want to say nothing because they afraid that you're gonna go tell the big boss and you're gonna get them fired. And we likes our job, and that's been how it's been around the league. But the teams that has won the championships over the past 20 years, most of them have had coaches that's been there for a while, or they've won one and then bounced out.
Okay. I just found an article. Let me make sure. Oh, let me do one more, and then I found an article that's gonna segue us into the into the bracket.
Oh God. We can stretch this out as long as we need to. Damn brackets.
So this was something that um I sent this last night, and I told you I wanted to talk about it in the group. It was Bomani's take on Hubert Davis.
Okay.
And I'm gonna play it real quick. It's only a minute, so we should be good.
Yeah, we should be fine on that one.
My thought on Hubert is it doesn't matter if Hubert lost every game he coached 4 years in a row. His legacy is solid. He has the two greatest wins in the history of that program, and no one can ever take those things away from him. I also think that it was very clear early. The job that Hubert got was not the job that Hubert was preparing for, and it was not the job that Hubert wanted. The big one was he was highly resistant to the idea of getting a general manager to run that basketball program because that is a notion of professional sports. Hubert, I firmly believe that he took this job as a man of Christ to guide and mold young men, and as a man who loves that institution, to put together a team of guys who also love that institution and go out to represent that institution. And buddy, that is not college basketball anymore. Whether you think that's good or bad is its own discussion. I'm just telling you, that's not what the game is. If Caleb Wilson is not hurt, or are we having this discussion? It feels like he's so fired that I'm talking about him like he's been fired, even though he hasn't actually been fired yet, because you have to fire him now. Once you waited this long and nobody said anything, you got to fire him.
Obviously, folks, this was before the firing took place last week, but I mentioned this to you. He's right on some parts and he's wrong on others. I think.
What was the two games that he was talking about?
I don't have no idea. I don't have no idea. And I want to go back and go look and find what these two games are. Because if he's counting the Duke win this year, then you're not a North Carolina fan. Please stop talking about it. But what got me was that, and I said this to you, I think that a part of it was, yes, he did not want to get into the politics of being a coach and just wanted to be the developer of players in there and the developer of men. But also part of that was he was naive. And the reason why I said that he was naive was because every coach before then that had these blue blood programs like we were talking about last week, they understood the culture and the landscape of what basketball was and has been over the past 15 to 29 years. We came into a culture to where it was the one and done. That's what it was. You had some players, and that's been one of my biggest things that I've held on to. And I'll mention it when I tie it on the back end of it. But you cannot go and recruit at those blue blood locations and not know I can build my foundation around players that I know is going to be here for 2 to 3 to 4 years, but I'm still going to have to go get at least 1 to 2 or possibly even 3 of these one and done superstars in order to make me a viable shot at winning a national championship. That has been pretty much the de facto setup for a whole bunch of these teams for the longest period of time until the transfer portal hit. Because now what the transfer portal has done is that if you got somebody that you wanted to develop for these 2 to 3 years in there and they get disenfranchised about the lack of playing time because every year you're bringing in Joe Schmo, who's the latest hot one and done superstar, to come in there, and it's taken away from your playing time that you wanted to be out to be able to shine and possibly raise your stock to get drafted in the league. Now you got another school that's in your conference, might be a rival, somebody else sitting up there doing this. Hey, beautiful. We know we see you all sitting over there on that bench. You can come and start over here if you want to, and I'll slide you a couple million. Hey, put me in contact with your people. All right, we good. And they slide. And you have to adapt to the way that the culture has changed. A lot of these coaches that are at them blue bloods that we've talked about have been so stuck on the culture of the one and done that they never thought about the one and done plus transfer. And it's killing them. But you can tell the ones that's adapting and the ones that's running. Or the ones that just stand pat and said, this is my culture, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to continue to do it that way, and I'm going to see where it runs. And you're seeing that as a microcosm of what you're seeing out here in this Final Four right now. UConn's been in the Final Four 3 out of the last 4 years. Why? That culture there is what built them. Their star player sat there and posted up 3 out of 4 years. Who's going to say something to me about that? Because he's been to a Final Four 3 out of his 4 years. And that rookie, that freshman that hit that shot last night, he's not going to try to go pro. And he damn sure ain't transferring if you have made it established of this is your semblance of excellence. UConn has been the symbol of excellence in college basketball. On the flip side of it, you got Duke. Duke has had national players of the years. They have been consensus number ones. They have had number one draft picks. And I think I sent you the list where they had multiple players that's been first round draft picks, lottery draft picks, and they've not won a championship in over 10 years. So which way are you going to work with it? When it came to Hubert Davis, he adopted a strategy to where they grew, but they also went after, because of the North Carolina mystique, they would get looked at by those one and dones that wants to wear that logo, that wants to wear that Carolina blue, that wants to wear that Jordan emblem on his college team for it. And he couldn't slam the door. He couldn't. How many of them that you would see, and I followed the recruiting trail and everything else, that they would show like this 5-star recruit was coming in there, and then they would go elsewhere. They would go to a Michigan. They would go to a Duke. They would go to a Tennessee. They would go out to UCLA. They would go to an Arizona. And they would be in the mix for it to when they cut it down to the last three. But what are you selling? Are you selling, I'm going to make a man out of you? This is not Mulan.
Okay. So and we've had this discussion, especially because of, as me and you were talking about this, because of Dion, and we went through the differences between him and Dion, but here's the thing: everybody's doing that. How do you know? Because when they start, the ones that are staying in the playoffs a lot and keeping their coach relevant, you're hearing it from the players. You're hearing it directly from the coaches on how they deal with the kids. Rick Pitino, he does that.
Yeah.
But the difference is he's winning.
Right.
He's able to do it and win. Not just win a little bit, like win. He's getting to the sweet 16. He's getting to the Elite Eight. He's getting he's getting to the championship. It's been a while since he's been to the championship, but with his level, with the amount of times that he's been to a championship, and the fact that he's taken 4 different teams and been to the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight.
Right.
If you're not doing that, then no, that ain't it.
Right.
And in the case of our people, bro, you got to stack up some championships in there.
Exactly.
You got to stack up some championships in there.
And that's what I'm saying. When you've had those opportunities, we sat there last week and we were talking about how do you lose when you had Armand Baycott for so many years that came back in order to fight with you for a championship. How do you lose opportunities when you came in ranked #1 in the nation and didn't even make the tournament in there for it? One, that's showing that you're not developing your players the way that you should be for it. And then two, you're not building the roster to where you're competable. You're building it to where it is where if you look up on somebody showing out, then yeah, that puts you up here, but you've been middle of the road.
If
You
they would
got
have
to
had some
win.
bigs during that time that you're talking about,
But you had to. You had Baycott, and I forgot who the other one was that was in there. You had two bigs when Baycott was there.
well, I know last year they didn't. I remember them not
No,
having.
last year they went guard heavy, but the year before that, they had Baycott and somebody else that was in there and on as they power forward.
Because I remember talking to you about it. I'm like, how in God's name did they think that they was gonna go deep into the suite, deep into the bracket with no big? And
And
I'm
that's it.
like,
Because and that goes back into the roster building because you didn't want to they said Bomani said it. You didn't want to deal with the GM part of it because you didn't feel like that was how it should be with it. But at the end of the day, the GM is going to be trying to put together the squad that makes you competable. You cannot sit there and be worried about how much they're getting paid and everything else. I never would have thought that I would want in the college basketball game that's supposed to be coming out to where they had a GM mode for the basketball game. Because you pretty much are trying to manage the NIL money, who's getting in there, what are they wanting, and everything else. That's too much for a coach to do. And it's making it to where it's like, I'm sad because of how it ended up with Hubert. But at the same time, the writing was on the wall. You did the two worst things that you could ever do. You couldn't go further as a North Carolina head coach when every single North Carolina head coach before you had won a national championship. You couldn't get back into there, and you couldn't beat Duke. Not on a consistent basis, you couldn't beat Duke.
yeah,
Those are the two things that is an automatic death knell.
yeah, and that's been going on a long time, and that's why we got into that complicated conversation of the blue bloods and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
like yeah, that's a you have to put a cap on that, because if you don't put a cap on that and you go back like 25 years, you have to point at a specific coach, because other than that, North Carolina is actually not as bad as they are being painted.
But
So,
you also got to think about.
but in this particular situation, they were talking about Hubert Davis. That's why I said that the topic should have been more towards Hubert Davis. That way, it would have been specifically narrowed down. When you start bringing up like a name like the Blue Blood, then you're talking about the history, and you're talking about the history. No, you don't. Let's separate the history, because you want to talk about the coach and his tenure. Then say the coach and his tenure. You can't compare the coach and his tenure to the entire history by you just because you're saying that they're a blue blood. If you bring the moniker into the conversation, then that's a whole nother conversation. Now, unless you say like in terms of like unless you were specifically trying to say that his effect on their name doesn't fit anymore, okay, now we can have that conversation without actually by only focusing on his particular history.
And the crazy part that I always, and I thought about this with everything that had been going on in our conversation last week with that was, and then it really hit home after the introduction of UC's head coach last Wednesday. with it and hearing his, if you have not, and I meant to send this to you, if you have not, take a look at the podcast that Corey Blunt and Terry Nelson does for the Bearcats. The interview that they did with him right after after he went through his whole press junket, and then go watch the entire press junket the press conference that he did, and that whole blue bloods mentality that we've had. A lot of people, I think, need to come to the realization that the blue bloods era of college basketball is dying, and it's dying before your eyes. You're going to see it can't be considered as the blue bloods, because the blue bloods were the ones that were constantly getting to the point to where we got tired of this past weekend always talking about them every single year. When the narrative starts to be on all the broadcasts that was showing the NCAAs, this is the first time, whenever you hear that sentence start, this is the first time that we've gotten this far without this team, this team, this team, this team, and this team in so many years. Or this is the first time that none of these teams has, or this is the sudden how many years that none of these teams made it this far, or these group of teams didn't make it this far. Then they can't be considered a blue blood anymore, because they're not the lifeline of blue blood. To me, means that's the lifeline of college basketball. Yes, the history of college basketball will pump through them, but the lifeline of it right now, when you really sit there and you think about it, the lifeline of college basketball right now is UConn.
Men and women.
Men and women. South Carolina women.
Yep.
You can throw LSU in there a little bit, women, but not that much.
No, not as much as the other two. No,
not as much as the other two. And then name me another consistent in Duke. But Duke ain't won a title in 10 years.
Right, but you can still
consider it, because they consistently get to Elite Eights and
they're
Sweet 16s
getting
and
to the
stuff with that.
Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight.
But other than that, who else can you say?
Yeah,
because Kansas hasn't been consistently good. It's been sporadic. North Carolina hasn't been consistently good. Michigan just popped back up on the scene.
Right.
So Arizona just popped back up on the scene because they had it. Villanova, but Villanova's been down since they won the championship.
Yeah.
So it's not that quintessential. You used to be able to book whenever you saw them in the tournament. Just like I used to hate the fact of UC would always get a high seed and be gone before the end of the first weekend. You used to always know that Duke, Carolina, Kansas, think about it. Wisconsin used to be up there all the time. Indiana would come and go. Kentucky. Who else? That's the whole thing. You can't even consider any of those teams in that ilk anymore because they haven't been consistent. I'm looking it up. Who do they call the blue bloods in college basketball? All right, so here it is. It says the blue bloods in college basketball are historically elite programs with multiple national championships, numerous Final Four appearances, and massive consistent success. The consistent top programs include Kentucky, North Carolina, Kansas, Duke, and UCLA. And then UConn has solidified themselves as the sixth member of that. And then they used to have Indiana, but Indiana's fading. Now, if you take a look at that, right, and you turn around and you say NCAA men's basketball champions by year. Let's go from last year and go for that. UConn's got 1, 2. Kansas got 1. North Carolina's got 1. Duke's got 1. That's in the past 10 years. You go 15, you throw in Kentucky. You go back 20, you got another Duke, Carolina, and Kansas one. And if you go all the way back to 2000, you throw in another North Carolina, and you throw in another Duke. So your blue bloods that you just named in the league in there for it, Kentucky has one championship
Yeah,
since 2000.
yeah. And that's what I was going into last week based upon the name Blue Blood. I'm like, okay, we talking Blue Blood. Let's talk Blue Blood. But like you were saying, this was specifically that last week's conversation was specifically geared uh toward Hubert Davis, and they were talking about the last 5 years. Like, okay, that is a different conversation. But since now I can see you saying that with the way that North Carolina has gone under Hubert Davis, taking that name off of them. But when you start comparing the teams the last few years, like the last five years, uh Kentucky hadn't been to a championship since 2014,
Right.
and and Duke Duke had one within the last 5 years, right? Didn't you say that?
No.
Okay, no, within the
The
last 10 years,
10. So here's the breakdown. Kentucky has one.
right?
Carolina and Duke both have 3 since 2000. Kansas has 1, 2. Kansas has 2. UCLA has none. And how many you think UConn has had since 2000?
4.
5. 04, 11, 14. No, wait a minute. Did I miscount one? No. 04, 11, 14, 23, and 24.
Yeah,
So they've won almost as many championships as the others combined in the
and
past
he's
25 years.
he's won, and the current coach has won how many of those?
Hurley has 2. Hurley has 2.
That's what I
Ollie
thought.
has 1. Calhoun has the other 2.
Yeah,
And then if you really want to think about it, if you go back to 1999, it's 6 because Calhoun
right,
got the one in 99 over Duke.
right.
So it's not, you're not winning championships. How can right now the only multiple champions that you have since we go back to 99, you got Connecticut with 1, Michigan State with 1, Duke with 1. So you got Duke, Connecticut, North Carolina with multiple. You got
Yeah,
Florida. Florida legitimately is tied with Duke and Carolina with 3
since 99 or since
since
2000?
99.
Okay,
Since
which that's
2000.
1 year. That's 1 year.
Yeah, so since 2000. Florida's had the back-to-back with Donovan and the one with Golden.
Right.
So they had 3. Syracuse got 1. Maryland's got 1 thrown in there. Louisville's got 1 that got vacated. Villanova's got 2. Virginia's got 1. Baylor's got 1. It's been all over the place.
Yeah.
So there's that whole thought process that we have to get out of is that we should, instead of calling them blue bloods, we should call them the historical teams, because that's what they are. They historically have been great, but to say that there are the blue bloods of the era right now, no, they're not. And it sucks to even think of that way, because that's part of the reason that drove our love for basketball, and that's part of the highlights that they show all the time for it. But let's call a spade a spade. Duke cannot get past UConn, no matter what. And it's been numerous times when Duke had a chance to get past UConn, and they have failed.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you have to play UConn for 4 quarters, no matter who their coach is, because
Yeah.
because of the fact that, I God, I really did think about changing my pick.
I
And
didn't.
as soon as they won their game, as soon as they won the game where I said they got to prove it to me, and they won that game, I was like, I got a feeling I should pick UConn over Duke. And and but it is what it is.
And see
But
that, and that ties
that's why I
in,
said my heart, because I would have won either way.
right.
If I would have won on my bracket and my heart if Duke had a won, and and I won on my heart because I'm a UConn fan anyway. So
See, I
so
can't stand UConn to a certain extent because of all the times when UC and UConn was in the Big East together, and they used to just make my head hurt with that. And it made and but I get Hurley rubbed me the wrong way when he dissed my Lakers and went back.
but you know
But
what?
I
It,
understand it.
but it no, it just LeBron is not is no, it's not worth it.
Right. And
Like
that's what I'm
no.
saying. I understand it. I had to get over my selfishness for my squad to sit up there and be like, you know what? I wouldn't have wanted to coach LeBron ass either. So I just let it go. But at the end of the day, that culture, and that's why I said I would tie it back into it. The reason why I said go watch those interviews, that culture that they were talking about this morning, and hearing Dan Hurley on Get Up this morning, and hearing Seth Greenberg and everybody sitting up there talking about how their culture is what helped them get to that point to where they didn't panic at the end of that game. They knew what to run, they knew what to do, and even with missing free throws and everything else with it, because they played a system that to where they practice that system every single day. You do something wrong,
And
you running the stairs.
and dare I say it, as emotionally dysfunctional as Dan Hurley can be,
He's a damn good coach.
he goes he goes hard for them players, and they go hard for him. Now, I am interested to see what it's going to look like next year once their forward is gone,
But
because he willed them to that win before they got to get to Duke. That
yeah.
was that was a lot of him. Mullins was in there too. Solo ball has always been inconsistent for me. It's like and then Ross came out of nowhere. I'm like, okay,
Right. But
all right,
that's their
all right,
squad.
Ross.
That's how their squad is, though. Their squad is built on the fact of we will sit there and make it to where you won't know. We so deep, you don't know who might come at you and might be on that day. And that's how they've been over this whole run. You knew who they started. You knew who their talented player was, they number one that was out there. But it was always somebody below the radar that would come in there and would kill you. Because his mind and how he game plans is, I know he's gonna get his, and you're gonna try to corral him from getting all of his, but he's gonna get some of it. But once you do that, I got this one that you probably was not game planning for. Then I'm gonna
And
run out.
Reed got more consistent as the year went on, and started playing like the big man I've always known him to be. Now, I still feel like he's definitely got to work on his consistency if he gets to the next level for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But that helped them this year too.
Oh yeah. And it's to a point now to where when you really sit down, you think about everything that happened over this weekend with the tournament, and we about to, folks, we get ready to talk about that as we get ready to get ready to go into wrap up mode. But
Right.
this weekend's tournament, I loved all the games I got to see, because you really got to see teams kind of figure it out as they go. And not to pat myself on the back too much, even though I took some L's for it. I took L's. Most of the L's that I took was because the better team won, or my team that I had going that far was already gone in the first place. So it wasn't. It wasn't. I didn't take no real bad losses, and so I'm cool with that. I can live with that when it comes to that. But a lot of things that we talked about last week as keys for things to happen ended up becoming those keys to where some teams change how I think it's going to be this weekend coming up, and others showed me why I picked them. So with
Yeah.
that,
Um,
what game you want to hit first?
one more.
What you got? What you got? My bad.
Actually, hold on. Crap, I got two, but we're gonna be quick.
Okay.
So, um, top coaches for North Carolina. This article from the Spun, Daniel Bates. He talks about the Hubert Davis, the era coming to an end because of their early exit, and that North Carolina is apparently moving fast on his replacement. Some of the names that have come up was Dusty May, Nate Oates, Todd Golden. Uh, no to Todd Golden. My Michigan in me says Dusty May, don't you move. Um, like, like Dusty May, don't move. And it apparently goes down further in the article. It says in a video posted on social Saturday that apparently it's been narrowed down to Dusty May and Billy Donovan.
Billy Donovan is going to be the next head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels. And I'm going to tell you why. Billy Donovan parlayed that whole run in Florida to going to the NBA, and that run in NBA has not been what it was supposed to be. And the writing was on the wall for him to be looking for an exit strategy out of Chicago after he had Chicago barely on the cusp of the playoff picture, and leadership in Chicago imploded that team. I remember watching that. I watched that game on D-Rose retirement jersey night when they won on a last second shot. I think that was the last game that entire team was together the way that they were structured, because
At the
they blew
beginning
it
of the
up right
season,
after.
the way that they looked at the beginning of the season, I told you that from the game I watched, I was like, Chicago looking like they might be a problem.
Right. And then they blew it up. They traded everybody. And at that point, as a head coach, do you want that headache going into it? The only reason why he's not been announced, and here's the thing that I always tell people: if it was Todd Golden would have been announced by now. Because Florida's been out for what? 2 weeks? They've been out a week. It would have been
Yeah.
announced by now. Dusty May, okay, Dusty May's in the Final Four. But if Michigan wins a championship, you think they're going to let Dusty May walk? They're going to throw the entire...
Quite frankly, I wouldn't let him walk regardless, but I mean...
Right, but especially if they win a championship, he's not going nowhere.
Yeah.
Then you threw out, they said Nate Oates at Alabama. Okay. Exciting style play, but will he be able to translate that SEC style that he's been raised on into the ACC to make you compete against Duke? So that's kind of wobbly with that one. And plus, he was on a down year this year from what Alabama has been for the longest. And then who was the other one? They said May, Golden,
Oates. But they narrowed it down to the beginning of the article said Golden, Nate Oates, and Golden, Nate Oates, and Dusty May. And then they said it was narrowed down to him and Billy Donovan.
It's gonna be Donovan. The reason why they can't announce it's Donovan is because the NBA season is still going on. They still got another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And Donovan has that obligation to get through the rest of the season. If they don't name a coach before either that Monday before or Sunday in between the Final Four and the national championship. Because here's the thing: the basketball transfer portal opens April 7th. So they're gonna have to have in that portal window NBA's last regular season game 2026.
Wow.
Uh-oh. What's going on?
I gotta stick another one in here. Wow. So I go further down in the article, right?
Uh-huh.
And my brain had to register what I was reading.
Uh-oh.
Coach K reacted to Hubert Davis's firing.
What did he say?
Um, he said, I think Hubert's uh one of the great guys is like, I'm sad that it happened. Every coach in the country has sympathy for him. When you lose a player the caliber of Caleb Wilson, he's a top 5 player in the NBA draft. When you don't have him in the last few weeks of the season, that's a big thing. That's a huge thing. And it says, look, they can do whatever they want to do, but I just have a lot of empathy for Hubert and a lot of respect for him. It's one of the great programs of all time in any sport. So I'm sure they will get a coach that is worthy of that position. It's one it's one of the big time positions in the sport. And then it said is hard. It had to be hard for UNC to let go of one of their own in Davis, but unfortunately, and I think this was the person that wrote the article talking. He said, but unfortunately, the job no longer appeared to be the one the ex Tar Heels guard signed up for. He'll land on his feet. Now it's just a question of whether or not North Carolina will do the same.
And that's the
And
truth.
that part of the article was written also by Daniel Bates.
And
So
see that, and that's the truth. This is why no matter what happens, this has to be a slam dunk hire. Because you cannot sit there and be going through this whole thing again in a year or 2 years. You can't have it to where, and you definitely can't hire somebody that's on some Will Wade shit.
Well, here's the thing. As long as Shire is able to do what he's doing in um Duke, it it
Mm-hmm.
it has to be a slam dunk, but it's not going to be a space of dominance because Duke is always going to be there. And that's what I
Right.
was trying to that's what I was meaning when I was talking about when you were comparing like Kansas to Houston and like Kentucky. I'm like, okay, who has Kentucky honestly had to like in comparison to like a Duke North Carolina, who has been their Achilles heel? If you really think about it through the history of everything, they it's usually just Kentucky and that's it. You might have
Right.
a few pop up. They might win one of the games during the season, but you weren't worried about them during the SEC tournament. You weren't worried about them during when it came when it came to the brackets in terms of keeping them out of it. If
Right.
if Kentucky didn't go, it was more because of Kentucky, which gave the other teams an advantage to take gave the other teams the ability to get their feet wet while Kentucky was trying to figure it out, as opposed to and in my opinion, same thing with Kansas, and as opposed to North Carolina. I've been a fan since 1990. They were having issues before then,
Oh yeah.
and they've been having that issue since then. Is always in the ACC is for basketball for sure is always Duke and North Carolina. The question is which one of them is going to be the number one? Which one of them is going to be the number two? And then who's going to fall in line after?
And it's
So
and that's the part of it that's making it to where that's the part of it that's making it to where this is an argument, because I get where everybody, it's been for so long. It was Duke and North Carolina, and then you threw somebody else in there for the longest time. But right now, if you're looking at consistency of the teams, it's Duke.
yeah,
You can't put
sure.
Carolina up there, and that's why this hire has to be somebody
And that's
that
why
can
it's
put
going to be
it back in
hard
the
to be a
echelon.
slam dunk. Is I get what you're saying. I agree that it has to be a slam dunk, but because Duke is going to be there and their recruiting is going to be there, that is
And
it.
that's why the part of me that's why the hardest part of me when it comes to this is the fact of it has to be a slam dunk, but we won't know for a couple of years. We won't know because you're going to have to, and I just looked it up. The NBA season ends on the 12th. That means Donovan's going to have to either be announced or and then be announced and have his hand in there, or relinquish being the head coach of the Bulls beforehand in order to finish out the season.
Yeah.
Because if it's April 7th, you gotta wait. You can't wait another week after that fact in order to try to get on top of it with portal transfers and building your team out. And I think the next thing is the Bulls eliminated from playoff contention. Because if the Bulls are eliminated, then I would make. Yep, here we go. Let's see here. If the Bulls are eliminated, then I would be sitting up there like, you know what, this ain't working. We need to go.
Gotcha. All right, one more, and then we're gonna get to the bracket to end it all.
All right.
So, uh, Jay Bayless reacted to Caden Boozer's emotional reaction loss and the narrative that players don't care in the NIL era. Okay, I'm on the fence with this one
Why?
because when it comes to college basketball, I fully agree with his narrative, but at the same time, there are the actions of some of the players that does look that does make it seem like they like it's that it's more about the money. But what he said in the article, let me get
I heard the snippet, but let's read that off from it because I heard the live snippet when he said that, and I applauded when I was listening to it because what he said hits right on the nail of what you saw after the end of some of the games, and from the reactions that you saw in the press conferences after the games from some of the players, especially from the coaches that are well respected, the Izzos, the Goldens, the even with Shire and everything with it. You saw that even with Calipari, with Arkansas and everything, and Oates with Alabama. You saw those type of players sit there and really kind of take the time in, because I don't care what nobody says. Duke, let's take Duke and let's put Duke into a separate bubble, because there was actually way more there than just that emotion from that. With a lot of these players and a lot of these coaches, we've been talking about the coaches that are hard on their players, that don't hold back on their players from it. And you got the players that respect them and they leave it all out on the line for them. And when they get to that point to where when they get to that point to where they're doing what they need to do and they just come up short, it's like, it's devastating, because for some of them, that might be their last time playing for that coach that changed their life. They might not have been a lot of a draftable commodity, or even be able to really think about a career overseas after when they first got there. They thought they was good, and then they started seeing some of the other players knew they had to put in the work, and then they put in the work, and now they can have a career outside of there. So they have that respect factor for it. Yeah, you did see some of them, and I did see some of them that just dapped up the players and it kind of looked like, all right, this is over with. I can go on to the next thing. Now, I wouldn't be surprised a lot of those players you see in the transfer portal after this over with.
Right. And now, and you know me, my level of sportsdom has no filter. I was watching exactly what people were saying, what he's saying on. I watched some Division 2 women's games, some Division 2 guys games. I watched some Division 3 championships over the weekend. I just, like I said, I don't just I don't just worry about like my teams. Like I actually love watching basketball. I wish I could be out there. Heck, I wouldn't mind. I say I would want to be a coach, but I actually wouldn't mind being a coach because I would, especially as long as I'm allowed to like run my ship. And I would run my ship with a level of a standard that everybody would understand. I want championships and I want nothing less. I would run it as a yes. I want I want stars, but I want team players.
Right.
And if I gotta help mold them to get there, then I'll help mold them to get there. But everybody's gonna know I want championships. I want champions. I'll even take the championship players, but the championship players have to know them and their entourage. You don't run this.
Right.
You alone do not run this. We will work together and we will build and we will build a legacy. If you're not trying to build a legacy, if you're talking about being one and done, I couldn't have been a coach in the one and done because I wouldn't have had them players. Like if you're trying to be one and done, I don't want you here. I want somebody that's trying to build a legacy. Yes, I want to help you get to the NBA, but I also want to make sure that you are built for the long haul.
And
So
um that's why with me saying that, I'm saying it along the lines of the Duke part of it. When it came out there, people have to realize the emotions that came out of that game. This Duke team, you already was the overall number one. You had a 19-point lead, and I'll spend this as a part of the conversation for in the brackets, but I told you, Duke has had a knack for either starting slow or ending slow. And against the teams that they went up against, they was going to be okay. But they've been pushed to the limit every single game and then had to turn it on. The worst thing that could happen to them was a flip-flop. They start off hot and then they couldn't keep it going on the back end of it. And that's exactly what happened on this game.
And they tend to get too one-dimensional. I get that you got the Boozer brothers, and I get the one
You got Cameron Boozer. Caden, I would not put up there with it. Because Caden's not going to be a lottery pick. Caden's probably coming back next year.
Right. Now Cam
did his thing. He had his points. He did what he had to do. But the fact of the matter was that whole team as a whole just was like watching the Siena game
Foster
in reverse.
Got hurt, they were slightly better than North Carolina.
Yeah. But because Boozer was so far ahead of anybody that Carolina had, it masked their inconsistency.
And when but if you was watching it, one of the things that made them inconsistent is when they come down and they just instantly go to Boozer. You just instantly go into Boozer all the time. Mm-hmm. No, that was one thing. That was another thing that I saw in that I did not like. I get trying to keep him in the game, trying to keep him focused in the game. But you also got to show that there's other issues, like you were saying. That was the thing about UConn. When UConn got that was what helped them through to get to the Final Four because they were kind of having that issue too. Because
Yeah.
Mullins, they were dependent on Mullins to be for the
But
three.
nobody was shooting. Nobody for UConn was scoring. When they sat there and they said the stats that popped out to me was that before they went on that run at the end of that game, they was 1 of 18 from 3-point land.
Right.
And then
they were dependent on it too much. When you don't work, when they work best, like a lot of teams that work best, when you use the three as a perk.
right. Instead of being the be all end all.
It's got to be a part of the offense. We just come down and we just hoist it up. It's good. Unless you are the girls for UConn, no, that should not be your that should not be a part of your definite game plan. It should be this is a perk and that's what it is. So and if you decide to go outside of that, then God, just watching them, it just takes me back. Anyway, I'm sorry. I got the Michigan Texas girls game on, and I just saw a young lady for Texas do a turnaround fade away from the baseline. It was beautiful.
Oh Lord.
Mm.
That's all right. That's
The
good
way it tickled
basketball.
the twine, that tells you I'm old. When the last time you heard that? The way it tickled the
Man.
twine. It's like,
Look at you. You getting all
uh,
choked up thinking about it.
yeah, but yeah, man, it just and like I was saying, teams on all levels, Division 1, Division 3, there was a lot of crying teams. There was a lot of crying teams that they were getting blown out. They were crying before the game was over. They were crying before the game was actually
But
over because they knew it was
right.
over. And
But that also ties into the conversation we had a couple of weeks ago, or a few weeks ago, when we said which one is worse, the sudden loss or getting blown out. Because the sudden loss, you saw that, and you saw that all the way through. Because in that moment, just like Caden Boozer sat there and said, Caden Boozer came out and sat there and said, "I cost my team, they cost their team their season." In that initial moment, because you did fundamentally, you had a rush to judgment. That's all it was. It's a basketball play. Everybody that beat up on anybody that beats up on him, if and you know how fanatical people can be. He's probably gotten text messages saying you did this, da da da. Hope you do this, things are get over it. It's a game. And for that kid, you have to think about it from that kid's standpoint. That kid was trying to get the ball up court, and he, in that moment, he forgot his fundamentals. He jumped up and left his feet to where he had no option to go and tried to throw it over two people with outstretched hands, like we always yell out for defense, to sit there and do it, and the ball got tipped. Now, in that moment, did anybody think that somebody was going to hit a 35-foot three-pointer during that game? I'll be honest. I said no. And then he hit it. I was like, oh, just in that same reaction.
There was a game I watched this weekend, and they just kept shutting me up. I think it was the UConn girls.
Oh,
That
yeah.
that was
Again,
that was definitely one
the
game.
game against Notre Dame.
Every time they put up a three, I was like, no, swish. It was like
That was another game against Notre Dame.
it was like because they was just coming down and they might make one or two passes and then it went back out, and you know me about the whole, hey,
Inside out.
if you get inside the free throw line, you get the rim is right there.
Yeah.
Which a lot of my games I lost this weekend, the rim was right there. They passed it out. I'm like, the rim was right there. It was there.
Yeah.
And then you missed the three. There was a lot of teams that if they could have it back, they take them 2 points. Especially if they team ended up losing after they had a lead. It's like if you up by a whole bunch of points, why are you hoisting up threes? That's when you should be pouring on the twos and making them foul you. So that not only are you hitting twos, but you getting them from the free throw line. So even though the clock is stopping, it doesn't matter because you're still scoring points. And then you go down and you play D, which that's the other thing about the deeper you get into the tournament. You rave about people's defense, and then they start playing the better teams, and then you like their defense was so good. Was their defense so good, or was it who they was playing that their defense just worked better against? That's the question.
It made it to where I think the other part that people fail to realize when it came to that fundamentals and there was that panic. And that panic that I think they all have felt in there, especially with the Boozer brothers, is that when they lose, if they lost, that was their last time playing with each other ever, probably. They've been playing together on teams since they were little. Now, one's going to the league. Caden needs to come back and go to Duke, but who knows what might happen in that ilk when he comes back around from there. But a lot of these teams, you start to realize the finality of it. This is one of the only, this and the NFL are the only two where the finality of it, when it's done, is it's done. You only have one shot at this. And if you win, you keep on. If you don't, you go home. And one of the things that I think a lot of people fail to realize when it comes to being a sports fan or being a sports athlete is that everybody wants to be the last person happy at the end of a season. It only can be one set of people or one person. It can't be everybody. And part of that thing that we've done to society that's made it to where it's made it harder for people to fathom that is that we give out all the participation of being there for everything with it. And Lord knows they all get all the swag and all the perks for them being at the tournament for it, as being representatives in there for it. But at the end of the day, nothing trumps being able to say, I got to a Final Four and possibly got a ring for making the Final Four or a championship ring. Nothing. So even if I'm a one and done, if I'm about the money, unless I am completely self-serving in there, once I get to that Elite Eight and I know I'm halfway there to winning it all, my legacy outside of that money comes into play to where I'm like, you know what? Nah, hold up. I might be able to win it all. I can be the number one pick. All eyes is about to be on me. I can make a whole bunch of money hand over fist after this if I show out now. Think about A Cup for Arkansas. He's legitimately now a top 5 pick from what he did in the tournament. Think about the guy all the way back for Cal Baptist. Just for that one shot that he got in there. He might sneak into the second round and get picked up as a steal. Would have never got any type of notoriety from that. But you got the opportunity to. Because it's harder in the NBA. People, you have to think about it from this standpoint. If you're a college football player, most college football teams has 100 players on there. And there's 118, 119 Division I college football teams. So roughly you got 11,000 players. And you are trying to become one of the 53 across 32, which is get my calculator out. Part of the 1,696 possible positions out of 11,000 players.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in a college basketball sense, college basketball had, I want to say, 330 Division I teams.
Mm-hmm.
Total Division I basketball teams. I'm way off. 365 Division I men's basketball teams. So 365 times most teams go 11 deep. That's 4,000 players. And you're trying to be one of the 60, soon to be 62, to get 64 to get drafted into the league. And that's it with the slots that's available for it. This might be it. You're not going to get no second chances. You have to the NIL has made it to where the landing is a little bit softer for some of them. But depending on what you have to pay out of that NIL money for everybody that's a hangers on or whatever you done bought or whatever you're doing with that part of it, unless you're getting really, really substantial money, that money might be gone within a year or two. Then what? You can't rely on it. So you have to the opportunities is so few and far between when you sit there and you realize how much effort really goes into getting to that point. Everybody wants to be in Lucas Oil Stadium this weekend. To be able to sit there and say in an NBA, in an NFL field, they're playing a national championship. 70,000 fans. No, 70,000 fans you playing in front of. There's no better way to try to go about it. And you're going to sit there and people are going to poo-poo, oh, they're just worried about the NIL money. Nah, if they crying like that, that meant something to them. And you can't take that away from them kids because they're still kids. Most of the NIL, stuff and everything comes back from the adults that's around them.
We got to stop riding that fence. I can't keep having a conversation where I feel like we're riding a fence.
Which one?
When you say when you sit up here and talk about what they deserve, you go, they're adults. But then
but
then you turn around and you keep having reason to go, they still kids. No. Pick one.
See,
pick a road. Now, if you want to say that they're young adults, I'll ride with young adults. But don't say they still kids. No. When we want them to have something that can end up something that on the one hand that they deserve, but too much can poison them. But too much. They deserve it. They got something they deserve. They're adults. But then you start getting into the emotional part. Well, come on, man. They still kids. They're still young. It's like whoa. This is the reason. This is another one of those reasons why it's so hard to get people to really be on the right way. They keep
on changing the
road.
Everything
we keep changing the road to fit the conversation.
Right. And for me,
and that's why you gotta just keep it simple. If you keep it simple, the coaches that win, they keep it simple.
Yeah. And that's why I said for me, to me, they're all kids that's getting influenced by somebody in order to do what they do. Until a certain point, because at the end of the day, most of them can't sign on the dotted line for any of them contracts without an adult around them.
Right.
So that's why I still will consider them as kids, and their emotions are still involved in it because they're playing a game that they love. They get made friends with it, and that's fine. Some of them have been brought up hardened to where it's a business. And I'm doing what I need to do for the business side of it. And those are the ones that you can sit there and see them dap them up, don't show a lot of emotion, they're walking off of. The kids are the ones that are sitting up there as soon as the horn sounds, they down and they crouch down and they're balling while they're on the court, or they're balling with the towel over their head on the sidelines because they're getting boat raced out of the game. And they know for a fact it's coming to an end. They just wait. That is the slowest death that you could possibly have. If you know by halftime it's over, and you guys sit there for all of the TV timeouts and everything else, knowing that you can't come back.
The Michigan girls are going through that right now.
I believe it.
They've been down since before halftime, and the score is not even that out of hand. The yeah, Texas is taking it to them, and but yeah, with that's the perfect segue to the bracket.
Which
Um,
sucks.
yeah. Now I will say this, and this is why I still consider my bracket still intact. Two of the four teams that I had in the brackets are in the final four. So my bracket is still technically intact.
Do you still have
Now,
your national champion?
now that was from the I'll put it to you this way: the West and the Midwest were very nice to me. It's like now the East and the South, the closer it got to the Final
Ugh.
Four, the more interesting it got. So but I as far as I'm concerned, it's still a win because I know when I write down all my wins and losses, I know my wins is outranking my losses just over the totality. So even if I don't get the team right, men or women's, actually for the women, uh
Women, you probably do,
all
probably could.
four, all four of my teams went, and now it's about to get interesting because now we got to. I did have some losses on the women, not as many as I had for the men, but and all of my picks, which were basically all the number ones, all of them made it to the final four.
But see, what did
Well,
I
well,
say in the
they're
beginning?
looking like they're. Let me rephrase. They're looking like they're gonna make it for the women. Let me look real quick. For the women, let's see who's already there in the final four. UConn and UCLA is already there.
Yep.
Texas is about to be there, so that's three. And then I just
And
gotta
South Carolina,
wait for South Carolina to
which unless they lay an egg, they'll be there.
right. And then that's when it's gonna get real interesting because then that's gonna mean South Carolina's gonna play UConn and oh man.
I can't wait for that game, man. I cannot wait for that game Friday night.
Oh my God. But I will say this. UConn women, UConn men, congratulations. Um Michigan men,
The women,
Michigan women, congratulations, even though the girls are about to go out right now.
they don't
Uh,
care. They made it to the Elite Eight. It's not like they was going to beat. Most of
right.
those you have to sit there and really think about it um for most of them teams, unless they was a number one or number two seed, getting to the Elite Eight is a bona fide great part for it.
Yeah. So that's not you they basically they definitely did their thing. And my heart, obviously my heart rides with Michigan, but I knew the Texas girls is like, yeah, no. No, it ain't that kind of party. It's not going down like that. Um, so, and although that does make it interesting, seeing that they're gonna be taking on UCLA, and UCLA has been being super dominant. One of them teams, ah, God, oh wait, um, mm, and I wish South Carolina was not on the same side and gonna end up playing UConn because I just. Ah,
But it had, but they, but
I mean, they're gonna end up having to play UConn, and I'm gonna go with UConn, but I'm gonna damn it, that damn Dawn Staley. I just mm.
You're looking at the two GOATs of the industry right now.
Right.
If you look at the Mount Rushmore of it, if you look at the Mount Rushmore of it, Dawn Staley and put herself up there on that Mount Rushmore very quickly. Nobody's going, and Ariema is standing over everybody. Ariema has a photo with the ring shot where he had all the rings on. You thought Bill Russell's was bad? I'm gonna find it and send it to you. I saw that today, and I said that is the most. You said that to somebody. That is when you want to absolutely shit on them completely, because he had both hands set up there like this with at least two of them on a few of the fingers. And I don't know if it was all Final Fours. I don't know if it was Final Fours and championships. I don't know, because I think they get a ring for the Final Four and they get a ring for the championship. If that's the case, then that man has too many damn rings. He has a museum for rings.
Fucking UConn.
Ring picture. Yep, here it is. Rings picture. Come on. Oh my God. It's on his Instagram. This man on this photo. God, I gotta see this for my own. Is it a video?
No, sir. That's 12 national championships.
No, but no, he's got a couple of them. Is one of them sitting with his hand on there for it? I'm about to. He has enough rings for two fingers. Yeah, here it is. I'm about to send you the picture. It was from Nike. They said he has 13 championships from UConn, and then it's the Final Fours too. He has enough for 2 to 3. He on some of his fingers, he's got 3 rings. It's freaking awesome. Why is it on DraftKings though?
Now, in terms of the men's,
I don't care about it. I'm joking.
Come on. Come.
I'm like,
speaking of that, how did you do on your second chance?
Even worse. My second chance, I was done. So, all right, folks, let's call a spade a spade. I sat there. I did 3 of the original bracket, and then I did 3 of the second chance. Okay.
Yep.
I got one bracket where I still got UConn winning. I got another bracket where I still got Michigan winning, and then Purdue lost. The one that Purdue lost, my max total points that I could get is 550. The max points I can get for the Michigan one is 1100. The UConn one is 1110. And that's because I got UConn. I had Virginia. I had UConn over Illinois. Was that the right bracket? No, yeah, I had UConn, Florida, Purdue, Virginia. That was the Elite 8. So that was I only got one team, which is UConn, in the Final Four. Because my final was UConn and Virginia, and UConn winning it. So that's the only one I still got a puncher's chance. The Michigan. What? Yeah.
You thought Virginia was making it all the way?
I thought Virginia was going to make a run, and I thought Virginia was going to match up and slow down Michigan. I really did. And yeah, that's what I said. That's why I said I'm cool on this bracket this year. And then the other one I had St. John's, Florida, Purdue, and Michigan. And I had Florida and Michigan in the final, and I had Michigan winning it. So I only got Michigan left. The last one is a complete another shit show. I have not had nobody in the bracket since the Sweet 16. That whole bracket is just trash. Now, on the second chance one, second chance, I had Houston and Michigan winning. I only did two of them. I did Houston and Michigan. The Houston one, I had St. John's, Houston, Purdue, Michigan. Michigan is doing me well. Houston, we have a problem. And then the other one where I had Houston, my final four was Houston, St. John's, Purdue, and Michigan. Houston and Michigan in the championship, and then I had Houston beating Michigan. So yeah, when all else fails, Jay screws it up. But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. Mine. The worst bracket I had in terms of like changes was the East, because
Yeah, I couldn't even change it.
because I screwed up, like I told you earlier, I screwed up by even picking Louisville over Michigan State, and
Yeah.
then and then and then that the UConn Michigan State loss was, it was a toss up because I knew how good at coaching, and I knew how good Michigan State was playing, and I knew how inconsistent against a good team that'll play you for 4 quarters that UConn was capable of being. I just didn't realize how consistent that they were going to decide to play in terms of using everybody, and Reed being so consistent, which is basically how they got to where they are.
Right.
So I could live with UConn doing me like that, especially seeing that they're my team anyway. So like I said, my heart wins either way it goes. Because bottom line, I got two of my teams. I got two of my teams. I still have two of my teams in the final four, whether it was both the teams I picked or not. So I directly picked or not. So Michigan did what they were supposed to do, and Arizona did I mean UConn did what they were supposed to do. Even if I did not pick them. And of course it came off of three. I didn't, like I told you, I knew something was wrong because I was sitting up there doing my wrestling podcast, and all of a sudden my TV that hadn't been doing it lately, all of a sudden it decided to disconnect from the internet. And I'm like, I'd already seen UConn starting to come back. And I'm like, uh-oh. And then all of a sudden my TV went out. I went,
It didn't want you to
uh-oh.
watch the greatness.
It's like, yeah, you're not gonna want to see the end of this. Focus on your podcast. It's like, um, but
It was.
but again, it was like I would have much preferred it. It would have been easier for me had Michigan State beat UConn, because then I would have instantly picked Duke. There wouldn't have been no question. You know, UConn went against Duke, and I was honestly thinking like maybe I ought to pick UConn on this one, but I didn't, because I like I said, the way they were playing, it was kind of like the year when Kansas City went to the Super Bowl and they won. But you saw how they was doing on the one score games. And you're like, dude, this has got to end. This has got to end. They get in the playoffs. You think it's gonna end. Nope, still not ending. What? They won the Super Bowl? Huh? That's the way it was looking. So but bottom line, I still have two teams in, although my worst bracket performance wise was definitely the East, because once Illinois messed me up in the South, I was like, um I basically picked, once I saw them beat VCU, I picked them the rest of the way. Wait, hold on. Let me look and make sure
You better make sure.
you know what? I wanted to and I didn't. I take that back. Um, yeah. So yeah, I take that one back. Yeah, you know what? That is right. 1-1. That's well, 1-0. Yeah, that's how that one go. One 1-1, and then 1-0. There we go. Sorry, I'm trying to the way I had it written down on paper. I was trying to figure out how I was tally up everything. So,
Yeah.
which once everything is officially done, I'm gonna wait till everything is officially done, and then I'm
I
gonna
don't
say
care.
I'm gonna say what my record was.
I don't
So
care.
so uh
I can't do
so
good.
I haven't done a bracket in years. I am incredibly proud of myself.
Oh, whatever. I don't care. I
I
lost.
am
I
I am
lost horribly.
incredibly proud of myself the
I am
way
I I am a UConn fan for the rest of this tournament. Because
I'm
if UConn,
I'm now the now my picks for this weekend is going to be interesting because as much as I want to pick Michigan and I do, uh, Arizona.
I'm picking Michigan. I'm gonna tell you why. Michigan took Tennessee to the woodshed and they didn't let up. The only reason why Purdue lost that game is because Purdue got tired. Because Purdue was giving Arizona fits that first half.
They were, but I want to say also the defense the defense changed too.
Yeah, they made the adjustments.
They they
Now,
they they definitely made second half adjustments because they started to pull away, and once they started to pull away, it was like okay, and that's what I was wanting. I'm sitting up there, I'm looking at the game, I'm like, all right, Arizona, they too close. All right, Arizona, they too close. Come on now, because I'm gonna be perfectly honest. Bad defense, especially towards the end. That's why Purdue was where they were, although they definitely earned it against Iowa. Wait, hold on. No. Wait a minute. No, I'm mixing stuff up. That's my bad.
Michigan went up
When
against
when when
Alabama
when
and then Tennessee.
yeah. Now Illinois, they pulled away way too late, but they had to wear
Iowa
Illinois
down.
the Illinois game. They had to wear
Where
Iowa
Iowa
down
down. Yeah. Yeah.
because that just that one was dicey, and I'm like, dang it, Illinois, come on. It's like I'm going with you. Do not let me down at this point. It's like, but it was almost looking like it could have been a Big Ten situation.
Yeah. And that's why I said, like, it's not when it comes down to the when it came down to the whole thing with the with how the teams looked with that.
What would have happened if it would have ended up Michigan State, Illinois, Purdue, and Michigan? Bro, that would have been a whole nother
I was,
conversation.
you know what? And here's the sad part about
I
it.
was thinking about that the whole time.
That would have squashed everybody sitting there talking about the Big 12 was the best conference in the league right then and there. Because the Big 12 ain't been nowhere near the tournament since the Sweet 16 since Thursday and Friday,
No,
except for Arizona.
right.
That's it. So that
Yeah.
the Big 12 is the best conference in the world. Yeah, whatever. It's one of them. The
They,
Big
they
Ten,
yeah,
the
they
Big Ten is showing
definitely
out.
they definitely they definitely have teams that are getting better, and God forbid if they go back to their times of dominance where they dominated, especially like a Arizona, like that's going to be very interesting for the brackets going forward. But at the end of the day, them UCLA, if they well UCLA is Big Ten, but and God forbid if they go back to their dominant times, that's gonna make the Big Ten formidable. The NIL has definitely college football, college basketball has definitely created some good things, even in the bad. I will say that. So, um, but if I'm being completely honest, I gotta since I redid did my final four and what I was looking at and looking at everything, I gotta make some official picks. And oof, what are the chances that both my teams make it to the championship? That's actually not something I want.
Why? Because you don't know which color you're gonna wear that day.
It's gonna make it harder to pick who gonna win. Um, uh,
Well, you technically don't have to pick who's gonna win because by the time we be it wrapping up the show, the game will be just getting ready to start. So we don't have to pick a winner until next show. But you gotta pick who makes it.
right. So, all right, with the Yukon Illinois, that one's gonna be easy. That one's gonna be Yukon. The one that's gonna be dicey. That's a dicey game. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna err on the side of
Yeah, you about to take the easy way out. I can see it in your face.
yes, I am.
You gonna take
I
Arizona.
on the no. Actually, I'm going by what has happened all through the tournament. Whichever team that had both the men and the women's team lost their last game, the next team won that next game. So as long as that trend keeps happening, that means that unfortunately for me, it's gonna be UConn, Michigan.
That's gonna be the final. That's gonna be the final. I just don't see I see Michigan's length and their explosiveness overpowering Arizona.
But will Arizona's defense pull them make them make make mistakes? That's my thing because we saw what happened on the halftime adjustment
Yeah, and that
and
comes from the coaching. But the
and right and that second half adjustment came and it was like uh-oh.
and it
So
might be. I just for me, realistically, I just don't see it to where they're going to be able to adjust and keep up. And I hate the fact that I feel that way when it comes to them, but there's nothing that's screaming out that Arizona. I think Arizona has had a very very favorable bracket to get there. Besides the Purdue game, that they've kind of it's kind of been chalked all the way through. You knew they should have won their first round game. You knew they should have won against Villanova. They beat the 16-8, the 4, and the 2. They
no,
beat
they beat the 16-9 for
no, oh yeah, that's right. Utah State did win. Sorry. sixteen
yeah,
nine
yeah, yeah,
4
yeah.
2. So pretty much chalk.
Villanova didn't show up. I wouldn't have had. I didn't have them beating Arizona anyway. But just for the sake of my wins, they could have at least won the damn game. Same as them in Wisconsin. Yeah, there was yeah they that yeah. Looking at it, anybody that says that Arizona had an easier way, just like Purdue had an easier way. Um that yeah the West was definitely the easiest of the brackets.
Mhm.
Um although the Midwest wasn't exactly, I would say second was the second easiest had to have been the Midwest.
Yes. Especially once Iowa State got bounced out by Tennessee.
Right.
And then Virginia, Virginia just yeah, it's Virginia. Damn it.
Yeah,
Damn it.
I'm surprised at you because my
I have
original
been watching the
plan,
ACC.
if I remember right, when it came to Virginia, I had them making it out of the first game, if I can find where they are. Where is Virginia?
They were the 3 seed in the Midwest. They went up against Wright State to start off.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, Tennessee just totally messed me up at that point because I actually had them going against Michigan and losing to Michigan. Um, so so yeah, now that I remember it correctly, yeah, I had Virginia beating Tennessee, and then they were supposed to go up against Iowa State, and I have let me see right here. I have them beating Iowa State. Yeah. Yeah, I had Virginia beating Iowa State, and they was gonna play Michigan and lose. So so yeah. The one thing I will give the Michigan girls before we go ahead and sign off, they got beat, but you couldn't tell by the way they played. They played all the way to the whistle, even though the score wasn't even close to even say that they had a shot. So I will give them their due. Um, and that coach made sure that they played hard. A lot of these teams didn't do that. There were a lot of teams that just did not do that in the tournament once the blowout was there. So, oh, and with the girls, oh, I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna go ahead and pick UCLA against over Texas. Although Texas scares me.
I
Um,
I'm taking Texas. I don't think UCLA. Here's the thing about UCLA, and when it comes to me, and I'm being completely honest. The only reason why UCLA is up there is because Juju was out the entire season. If Juju Watkins would have been with USC, they would not have UCLA would not have ran the Big Ten like they did. So they did what everybody says. They did what Josh Allen couldn't do, and Lamar Jackson couldn't do. The people that was kicking their butt was out. They ran it to the Final Four. It stops with Texas. Texas is gonna run them out, and then whoever wins between South Carolina and UConn, which I'm leaning towards UConn, it's not going to be a given that UConn wins that championship,
I
but they will
know,
win it.
I know, and that annoys me, but I'm officially picking uh UConn to win it all.
I can't never bet against Gino. I will
Um,
never bet against Gino.
oh God, I'm glad I got time on the UConn Michigan thing. That's messing with me. That's messing with me because I want to go out with a win. I
Oh,
want to
I
go out
know,
with a win.
I know. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, with that, I would rather be factual with what we were saying. With
The
that,
way
and
they bigs play though, the way they bigs play and the way they play as a team, even with me sitting here watching UCLA now, watching Texas now, but basically that's what helped them. Like they played as a complete team and they bigs were dominant.
Mhm.
And it just and I'm sitting here and I'm looking at Texas and their bigs was dominant and they both play defense. It's gonna be an awesome game.
Oh
I
yeah,
just I feel like there's something about UCLA that's gonna get them a a a little bit of an edge, even though technically I'm the way I'm looking at the scores because that's another thing you kind of have to pay attention to. Um,
yeah.
like what they scored and who they scored against. That's how I ended up staying with Arizona. to make it to the Final Four. So yeah. Mm, yeah. Yeah, but I got time and I got days. I got days to study. But with that, with that, I'm going to let you go because you got to get ready to go.
You
And
know it.
I got one show to finish and another one to start, so I can try to make sure I can get this one edited and on YouTube tomorrow.
All right.
Um, I'm gonna try to start working on doing some reels. I
Okay.
I need to figure out when we can get together. Um, I don't know if you've been seeing that when I've been sending it, trying to
Yeah, I've been. It's been a little bit hectic with some of the things on there. I'll respond back to you when we get out of here because it'll probably be closer to Friday because it's
okay,
last week of the block. So
okay. I'll
trying.
I'll have to come early because I got one interview tomorrow for a job and I got somebody I'm supposed to be talking to about trying to work on this job situation and I gotta be home. Um, I'm basically telling myself I gotta be home by 3. So so yeah, we'll just let me know because I'm trying to get more motivated to do what I can do. That's why I
Uh,
asked you about that faceless thing because it just I don't know what it is. It just happened to pop up on Facebook.
mm,
And I'm like, maybe I do need to try that and make that a part of trying to grow everything and that maybe that'll help me grow everything, come up with some ideas to work with and based upon stuff that I want to cover anyway and then
okay.
and then then see if I can get some traction that way. And who knows, maybe I can mess around and start growing the business and won't have to worry about a job per se. Although one job I'm hoping I get, Babel is wanting to pay anywhere from $50 to $200 an hour. I'm about that life.
Mm.
I will do it. Anyway, I'm Dante Suave. This is Mystah Jay.
Everybody have a great week. Enjoy baseball. Enjoy the Final Four for both men's and the women's this weekend. And
Enjoy Division 2 and Division 3, at least the
53.
ones that ain't done yet, because
Right.
they've actually been some good ones.
See?
So but till next week, y'all. Later.
Have a good one.